Welcome to Heinz Hall. This weekend's program is really one of the most innovative of the season. I'm very happy that the fantastic, groundbreaking organist and Western Pennsylvania native Cameron Carpenter is making his Pittsburgh Symphony debut. I think you will be captivated by his talent and his vision and the amazing instrument that he created that travels with him all over the world, the International Touring Organ. His Rachmaninoff Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini will be unlike anything you have ever heard, and in fact, this weekend's performances mark the US premiere of this exciting work, arranged by Cameron himself. As one reviewer recently commented, Cameron Carpenter is always shaping music in surprising ways. And then the world-class musicians of the Pittsburgh Symphony will perform Shostakovich's 10th Symphony, a searing musical portrait of an artist's personal struggle under an oppressive Soviet regime. It was premiered following the death of Joseph Stalin in 1953 and is a revelatory work thought to be a portrait of the Soviet leader and the Stalin years in Russia. It is 48 minutes of tragedy, despair, terror, and violence, but also 2 minutes of triumph. Let's hear from some musicians with their thoughts on the program.
Hi, I'm Cameron Carpenter, and this is the International Touring Organ, which is the massive, globally mobile digital organ designed by me and built by Marshall & Ogletree in Needham, Massachusetts. The entire organ is made in the USA, and it reflects my desire to have the same relationship with my instrument that a violinist, say, in the orchestra has with theirs. That is to have a single intimate instrument that you know that you play in public, that you play in private, and on which all of your performances sort of cumulatively grow into your latest offering to the public. The multiplicity of the pipe organ worldwide is, of course, one of its joys, but it somewhat defeats the ability to have that relationship because each pipe organ is site-specific. The idea of the digital organ as a serious musical proposition is somewhat new. The digital organ hasn't existed for very long. It entered the US patent in 1971, but didn't really begin to mature as a musical proposition until the last days of the 20th century. While it might seem like a radical phenomenon, especially in the light of the 2,600-year history of the pipe organ, it's absolutely the opposite. I view the digital organ as an articulation of the grand organ tradition as it was in fact foretold by centuries of organ building, in the sense that not only has the pipe organ always been at the vanguard of technological innovation, in fact, before 1877, in the invention of the telephone exchange, it was mankind's most complex device, let alone musical instrument, but also because the organ is binary. A note is either on fully or off fully. And in that sense, it foretells the digital realities of today by several hundred years. The complexity of the organ is absolutely mind-boggling, but it is easiest to understand it as a sort of three-dimensional articulation of reason. The binary nature of the organ, as I've just demonstrated, is but one of its relationships to the world and the universe around us. And while we think of it as, in some ways, an orthodox instrument, it's also possible to see it through the lens of science and history as a reason-based humanism, which, of course, is how I approach it. I'm from Meadville, Pennsylvania, and grew up here and in this region until I was 11. Coming as a homeschooled child to the Carnegie Science Center and to lots of the cultural attractions in Pittsburgh. So to turn 35, as I will be doing on April 17th, spending a weekend with Maestro Honeck and the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra is a great homecoming for me, and I'm tremendously grateful to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, in our hands, we have the top 10 list of how playing a Shostakovich symphony is like being married. Number 10. In both, there can be found major drama.
Number 9, you think you know what you're getting into, but it's not until you're in the middle of it that you find out how prepared you really are.
Number 8, you're going along thinking you have the most important part, but you realize it's actually a duet.
It's like a dance.
Number 7, when playing a Shostakovich symphony, I've learned that Suzanne is always right.
Number 6, both require patience.
Number 5, both require you to play your part well, but it's always more important to listen.
Number 4, both deal with themes of dictatorship and oppression. Did you write this one?
Number 3, when things seem to be endlessly gloomy, you need to remember that soon there will be humor and sarcasm.
Number 2, it helps to have aspirin handy. Lots of aspirin. And the number 1 way that playing a Shostakovich symphony is like being married. As monumental an undertaking as both may seem, ultimately, they are among the most rewarding experiences in life.
I love all the Shostakovich symphonies, but the 10th is probably my favorite. This powerful piece is filled with rich sonorities, moments of deep sadness and despair, and raging technical sections. As a second flutist, I am quite busy. The most challenging section for me is a piccolo duo I play with Rian Kenny, our principal piccolo. This duet creates a slow and somber ending to the first movement, and I believe it portrays the feelings of anguish of both Shostakovich and the Russian people under Stalin's regime. One of the great thrills of my job is to play with the world's best woodwind section. Much of this symphony is filled with furious, rip-roaring technical passages that highlight us. Let me demonstrate this for you. After playing this symphony, I am always very thirsty, so I like to make myself not a white Russian, not a black Russian, but a blue Russian. It's made with a little vodka, some blue curacao, and a splash of cream. Cheers!